Okay, welcome to this tutorial on how to make a breakout game. So, without further ado, let's get started. First thing we're going to do is let's get rid of Scratch the Cat. Goodbye Scratch. And let's create a new sprite. First sprite we're going to create is our bat. So let's click on there. Let's make sure it's just set to outline. Let's draw a nice little square, a nice little rectangle. There we go. Drag him down a bit. And fill with colour, and we're going to make a turquoise bat. There we go. So there's our first bat. He's quite big. We can make it smaller later if you want to make it a bit smaller. And what we're going to do is click on the centre and make sure that our bat is centred. Good. Perfect. So there's our bat. It's nice and centred, and there we go. So first script we're going to do is we're going to get the bat to follow the x coordinate of the mouse. So if the mouse's x coordinate is 200, it will go up to x 200. If the mouse is minus 200, it will follow it to minus 200. So that's nice and easy. We just say when start clicked. Let's do a forever loop. We have to have a forever loop because if we just have an if statement, or if we just do it once, let's say if we do let's just set the coordinates, change x or set x to at the start of the game, set x to the mouse x. If we just do that, then what's going to happen as soon as we press x at the start of the game, it's literally just going to change to it once. We need to constantly be looking at the mouse's x and constantly changing. So in order to do that, we just put it inside of a forever loop. So at the start of the game, forever, just set it to the mouse's x. And now, there we go. It's constantly checking for the mouse's x position, and it will move it left and right. We haven't told it to set its y position up and down, so it won't move up and down. Perfect. So that's our bat sorted there. Let's click on the bat and let's rename it Bat. So our first sprite's called Bat. Good stuff. And next we're going to create the ball. So click on a circle. Let's have a pink circle. Now a good hint here is hold the shift key down. Hold the shift key down because that means that when we make a circle now, it's a perfect circle. If you don't hold the shift key while you're making it, then your circle won't be a perfect circle. It'll be more like an oblong shape, and it'll act a bit funny later on. So there you go, there's our circle. And again, importantly, make sure that it's centered dead center. There you go. If you can't get it perfectly right now, you can always do it later on. Good. There you go. So we've got our bat, and we've got our ball. So let's change that to the ball. There we go. There we go. Good. So we've got a bat and a ball. When start click, set that mouse. What we'll also do as well is let's make sure that at the start of the game we show the bat, and at the start of the game we show the ball. There we go. So we show the ball. So at the start of the game we show the bat and we show the ball. Also at the start of the game, let's get the ball to appear just above the bat there. So we go there. Now you'll notice if we click on the motion for the ball, watch what happens to these go to here, these coordinates, as I move it around. There we go. As you can see, it's following the coordinates. Now that's really useful because what it means is if we want the ball to go to somewhere, or any of our sprites to go somewhere, then we can just drag it to where we want first, and then we don't have to worry about actually putting the coordinates in. So there we go. And now at the start of the game, we'll go to that coordinates whenever we click it. So go there. We'll go to the start. Good. So we got it to the right position. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get it facing 45 degrees. Let's go 45. Good stuff. Pointing 45 degrees. So it'll be pointing up that way. And let's put a little bit of a loop in. Let's wait for a few seconds. Let's wait 5 seconds. There we go. Wait 5 seconds. And then after 5 seconds, let's set off moving. Move 10 steps. There we go. So now we click on start of the game. We'll go to there, point 45 degrees, wait 5 seconds, and then forever it will start moving along. So if we just wait for it to click in, Once it starts, there it is. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and off he goes up to that top corner. There you go, perfect. So let's just change that speed a little bit slower for the moment. It's a bit fast. There we go. Let's press that start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go, and off it goes. Now, which is all very well and good at the moment, but as you can see here, it's hitting there, going up, which means that it's going to need to bounce here up in the top corner. So what we'll do is we'll say if on edge, let's just bounce. There we go. There you go. And now, hopefully, if we click on start, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, there you go. It's now bouncing around our screen. Excellent. Okay, so now we've got the ball, it's bouncing around the screen, happy days, and we've got a bat that's moving, that's good. Now what we're going to move on to is we're going to move on to getting the displaying one of the bricks. So let's create a brick, bat, ball, create a new sprite. This time, let's create another square. Let's have a black outline, and let's create a bit of a brick. There we go, that's a nice size. And let's colour in the brick with a bit of paint. We'll do a bit of a gradient this time rather than a flat colour. Oops, just undo that. Let's do a gradient inside of there. There we go, so there's our first brick. And we want our brick at the start of the game to appear over here. There we go. Now, good. That's all very well and good. So let's tell that at the start. There we go. Good. Excellent. Now, what we could do when we're programming our brick is we could actually create lots. We could do duplicate. We can create lots and lots of sprites. We could have about 50 sprites down here, one for each brick. But that seems like a lot of duplication. And if you do make an error with your code, the problem you've got is that if you make an error, you're going to have to edit 50 scripts, which is going to take quite some time. So what we're going to use instead is we're going to use one of the fancy features of Scratch, which is cloning. There we go. Good stuff. And there's our sprite. And we can say, let's have a look at the start of the game. When we press start, let's create a clone of myself. There you go. Create a clone of myself. There we go. Good. Now, there you go. So we press start. Every time you press start, it will create a clone of the original, which is perfect. Good. So, let's put our main sprite down there. Let's stop there. There he is. Now, here again, what we're going to do is, it's all very well and good, but when we press start, they all appear in the same place. We don't really want that. We want our clones to appear in a kind of brick formation. So, how are we going to do that? Well, what we can do is, we need a couple of variables to get things going first of all. So, at the start of the game, there we go, we're going to create some variables, and let's call it the brick x. There we go. Create a variable called brick x, and at the start of the game, let's set the brick x. There we go. Set the brick x to whatever the x coordinate of this main sprite is. So there you go. So now at the start of the game, when we press start, there you go. It set that variable to the x coordinate of that brick. Perfect. So what are we going to do with that? Well, now what we can say is, here we go. When I start as a clone, let's just add or change the brick x by 50. There we go. And change brick x by 50, and then change, there you go, change the brick x by 50, and then set my x to whatever the new brick x is. So that means now, there we go, we've got 2. Perfect. There you go, let's move him over there. Let's run it again. Probably get to a bit more than 50. Let's try 60. Let's try 70. Hey, there you go. So perfect. So now that's done. Okay. Now we don't just want one more clone. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's get a repeat loop, and there we go. Let's swap those round. Let's see if that works. Yay, that's about right. Maybe not 10. Let's try 6. 6 will probably do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's okay. Let's maybe put that to 75. Let's try 75. 80? 80? What do you reckon? No, let's leave it at 75. Good. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 clones sat there. Good. What we'll also do as well is, after we've created the clones, let's hide that original one that's living over here, because we don't want him anymore. So let's hide him at the end. So hopefully it'll go, bing, there you go, and we just got the 6 that we need. Now that's all very well and good, but now we're also going to have to make sure we go up as well. So we have to change the y coordinate as well. So we're going to have to do a similar thing. Let's create another variable, and let's make this variable brick y. Okie dokie. Ooh, bricky. And again, at the start of the game, set brick y to the y position. There we go, set y position. And now what we can do is, let's have a look. This time, for each of the 6 ones we go across, let's move that out of there. Let's go 6 up as well. Okay. For each time, after each 6 times of moving across, what we'll do is let's change the y coordinate. Change brick y by, let's try 30. There we go. Change brick y by 30. And this time we can say, for each, set the y to brick y. So this variable will keep count, each time knocking it up by 30. So let's have a look. Oops. Something's not got quite right there. What's happened there? Should be. Where's my? That's why. My original guy. Here we go. We need to have a show at the start, don't we? Let's see if we can make him show. There we go. That's better. Okay. So this is all very good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. But the problem is now is we get to 6 and our x coordinate isn't being reset back to what it was originally. So what we need to do now is after each 6 here, we need to come back. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to have to come back 6 lots of 75, which is 6 7s are 42. In fact, my brain's not working, so we'll just cheat. Let's just cheat. So, what is 6 times? What's that? 6 times 75. This is a really good thing about Scratch, by the way. If your brain's not working, you can double click on stuff, and it should say it. Why is that not saying it? Who's that? That should. I don't know. Let's have a look. Who's that on? Oh, that's because. No. Let's just say. Put out there. 450. There you go. There you go. I wonder why that wasn't working. Let's put that out of the way. 450. So what we'll do here is, there we go. After each 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. After 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's move it back across in a minute. Maybe back over there. There you go. After each 6, let's change it back by minus 450. So we need to change the x. There we go. Change brick x by minus 450. Minus 450. There we go. So now, hopefully, there we go. Perfect. So, there we go. Brilliant. Yeah. Done. So it's got all our blocks in place. So now we've got a block moving through the other blocks, which is perfect. And we've got the bricks that appear. And we've got our lovely little bat moving as well. So what we're going to do next? Well, next we're going to have it so that when the ball hits these blocks here, it's going to have to hit them and eventually it's going to break them. So what are the rules around that? Well, basically, each of these bricks is going to have 2 lives. The first time it hits, it goes down from 2 lives to 1 life. The second time it hits, it goes down to 1 life, from 1 life to 0 lives. As soon as it gets to 0 lives, it disappears. So in order to do that for each one of our sprites, for each one of our clones, they're going to need, let's have a look, and let's call this brick. Each one of these brick is going to need a life, so we can call it brick lives. And in order to make it keep track of brick lives separately for each clone, we need to say for this sprite only. And that means there's a separate brick lives for each of these clones. So there we go. And what we can say, here we go, when they start as a clone, set the brick lives to that particular one to 2, which is good. And once we've moved it into position, we can do another forever loop. Forever, if we are touching the ball, there we go, if we're touching the ball, let's change our brick lives by -1. There we go. So if we hit the ball, or the ball hits us as it is, then let's change our lives by -1. Good stuff. What we'll also do is we'll put a tiny little weight in there as well. That'll just help us with debugging, and it'll also mean that if we do hit the ball and we lose a life, we want to give it maybe 0.1 seconds for that ball to get out of the way, maybe bounce off and go somewhere else, before we start checking again to see if it's touched it again. Otherwise, what will happen is it'll hit it and it might stick there and instantly disappear rather than bouncing off and hitting it twice. So if it's touching the ball, change the brick lives by 1, wait 0.1 second, which is good, and then it will carry on the scripts. And what we can say now is we can say if our brick lives is 0, there we go, if our brick lives equals 0, then all we have to do is we will hide. Let's hide. There we go. So let's try that now. Let's see if that works. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. So as it's touching them, as it goes through and touches them, it makes the bricks hide after a little break. Perfect. Good. So the brick lives are working. And also, we want to keep track of how many of these blocks, what we got, 6 by 6, 6 by 6, which is 6 sixes, 36 by my reckoning, 36. We want to see how many one of these blocks has been destroyed. So, there we go. So let's make a variable, call it blocks destroyed. We can do that for all sprites. Blocks destroyed. At the start of the game, we set the blocks destroyed to 0 because we haven't destroyed any of them. And what we can do is each time a block gets destroyed, just like there, let's just increase the blocks destroyed by 1. And now, if you press that there, blocks destroyed is 0. Let's see if that works. There. Oh. Oops, what's happened there? Okay, so if our blocks destroyed is 0, we hide, we change the blocks destroyed by 1. What we also need to do is let's stop that script on that sprite so that it's not still checking. Stop that script, there we go. And that will stop that from happening, hopefully. Because otherwise that script will just keep repeating. There you go. So now it's making a bit more sense, like a sensible approach. Let's see how that goes. And hopefully it will get up to 36 once we've destroyed all of them. Let's have a look. We're up to 29, we're up to 30. There's 4 more left. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go, 36. Perfect. Good. So blocks destroyed, 36. Now, why is that useful? Well, what we can do now, of course, is we can say on our backdrop, on our stage. Here's our backdrop. There we go. Let's go through to our backdrop. There's our game backdrop. Backdrop. And what we can do now, of course, is we can create a new one called Game Over. Oh no, Winner. Winner backdrop. Backdrop. There we go. And what we can say is, let's do a you win. You win. You can make this far more clever than I can. Fancy, but I'm just going to do a nice simple one for the moment. We could say you win. There we go. You win. Perfect. Good stuff. So what we could say now is at the start of the game, let's change our backdrop to the normal backdrop, game backdrop, and let's go in a loop, a forever loop, and if, there you go, forever, if our, there we go, if our, where are we at? If the bricks destroyed equals 36, then we know if all 6 are destroyed equals 36, we can change the backdrop to the winner backdrop. There we go. And change the backdrop to the winner backdrop. There we go. There we go. Good. So if it blocks destroyed is 36, change backdrop to winner drop and wait. Good stuff. So now if we do all 6, hopefully, we won't run it just yet, but if we did all 36, then it would change the backdrop. We also needed to stop all the other scripts and hide all the other sprites if that happens. Now an easy way of doing that is, what we'll do is we'll use a broadcast. Now a broadcast is like an invisible message. And let's call this winner. Is it winner? In fact, that'll be game over one. Let's just do game. End game. End game. There you go. So we know that if we get to 36, we're just going to end the game. And what we can say now is we can say for every sprite, if they receive end the game, all we want you to do is hide. There we go. So we'll just literally hide all the sprites if it gets to the end of the game. There you go. Hide that. And we'll stop all sprites, stop all scripts for this sprite. Stop all the scripts in this sprite. And we'll literally just do that for all of them. There we go. And that should stop everything. And so let's copy that into there. Yep, he's okay there. He's okay there. Good, there we go. So, for every single sprite, when we get to game over, we just hide this, the stage will broadcast end game, and it will hide, and it will stop the other scripts in this sprite. There we go. So we'll just stop them all, and then that way the game's finished. So let's have a look at our game so far. Let's hide a bit of this data. We don't need that data showing, do we? So what we got so far, there you go. So, yep, that's okay. It's starting to do stuff, and they're all going through the bricks. Okay, good stuff. And it's doing all that. So, now, the only problem we got now, of course, is it's not actually, our sprite isn't actually bouncing off anything. So, what do we want it to do when it hits it? Well, really, if you think about it, when it's going up this way, if it hits it, it's got to go down this way. When it goes up this way and it hits it, it's got to come back down this way. If it's coming down and it hits it at this angle, it's got to go that way. And if it's coming down at this angle and it hits it, it's got to go that way. So how do we do that? What angles are they for a start? Well, the easiest way to find out, of course, is, let's do a say. Every time it moves, why don't we just have a look at what direction it's going in? So if we just get it to say, get the ball to say what direction it's going in, say direction. We can get rid of this script later, but it just helps us debug whilst we're building our code. There we go. And there you can see it's going at 45, it bounces, minus 35, minus 45, 45, and I bet it's going to bounce down to minus 35. So it's going in some pretty weird angles. So what are those angles that it's going at? Well, let's have a look at them. So these are the angles that it's going at. There we go. So if it's going up in that angle, it's going at 45. If it's going at that angle, it's going minus if it's going at that angle, it's going 135. That's minus 45, and that's minus 135. How does that work? Well, if you imagine up here is 0, so if you're pointing straight up due north, it's 0, and any clockwise you go is positive. So 0, right round, 45, 90, 135, 180. And any anti-clockwise you go in, then it will go in minus numbers. Minus 45, minus 90, minus 135, minus 180. So, what does that mean to us? Well, what it does mean is that if we are going, let's say we're going up at this angle, we're going up at 45. If we go up at 45, we need to bounce down that way, which is 135. If we're going down at 135, we need to bounce up to 45. And if we're going up at minus 45, then we need to bounce down at minus 135. If we're bouncing down at minus 135, we need to bounce up at minus 45. So that's quite easy. 45 goes to 135, and 135 goes to 45. Minus 45 goes to minus 135. Minus 135 goes to minus 45. So how do we code that? Well, that's quite easy. There's our ball. There's our ball. Let's just move these other scripts out of the way. When we press start, let's have a look. When start pressed, forever. If we are touching, if the ball is touching a block, there we go. If a ball is touching a block, let's have a look. If a ball is touching, I've called it sprite 1. Let's change that because that needs to be a brick, doesn't it? I'm being really lazy. Brick. If our ball is touching the brick, good. Oh, why was it capital B? Brick. There we go. If the ball is touching the brick, good. Then if, and this is where all those directions come in. There we go. If our direction is 45, then we change our direction to pointing direction 135. There you go. If our direction is 45, we point in the direction 135. And what we'll do is we'll just put again another one of those little bits of a weight in there so that it doesn't mess with itself further on in the script. We give it a chance to move off before it decides whether it needs to bounce again. So I've just duplicated that script, and now what we do is let's do the minus 145 minus 135. So 45, 135 minus 45 minus 135. That'll be the other way around. 135 45 minus 135. Oh, minus 135 minus 45. There we go. Now, so hopefully that will now start to bounce. Hopefully. There we go. It's starting to bounce. Now, hopefully as well, that as it bounces a few times. Let's see. There we go. Now it's started to bounce a few times. It started to, there we go, it's starting to take off a few of our blocks. There we go, good stuff. Perfect. Good. Now, we've got that bouncing on the bricks, but of course the same thing will work if it's coming down on the bat as well. So, what we could say is if it's touching the brick or the bat, which would work, wouldn't it? So let's have a look. Or, there we are, or the bat. There we go. So we can say, instead of just doing the brick, There we go. If it's touching the brick or or the bat, it'll bounce. There we go. Duplicate. Get rid of that. Duplicate. Get rid of that. Duplicate. Get rid of that. There you go. So that should bounce now off either the brick or the bat. Let's have a go. Hopefully, let's find out. Bing, 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 bing. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Good. So it's bouncing around. We don't need it to say the direction anymore because we're quite happy with that direction. So we can get rid of that. And also my bat, he's looking a bit big, isn't he? He's huge. So let's make the bat a little bit smaller. Otherwise, it's going to be a really easy game. There we go. Let's try that. That's a bit better, isn't it? So there we go. Bing, 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 bing. Oops. Bing, bing, bing. Now you'll notice, there we go. Let's just, it allowed me to move that then. Let's hand drag in player. Now that's not going to be a problem in the real game, but it will be a problem in my little makeup game. There we go. So now it's bouncing up and down. We can win, but at the moment it's not a great game because whilst we can win, we can't yet lose. So how do we lose? Well, we lose when the ball, if you look at it, drops below where the bat is. So if our bat's here, if our ball is lower than the bat, then we know it's going to hit the floor and we'll have to lose a life and then come back up. So let's have a look. There we go. So first of all, we're going to have to keep track of how many lives the player has got. So let's create a variable called player lives. There we are. So we can keep track of the player. Good. There's our player lives. And we'll put the bat in charge of the player lives. So we can say, Mr. Bat, because he kind of is the player, at the start of the game, let's set our player lives to 5. That's a nice number. There we go. Good. It sets it to 5. And what we can say now is we can say, if that ball, let's have a look at this. Watch his x coordinates of the ball here up in the corner. If that ball drops below y value 168, so if it goes less than 168, we know it's going to hit the floor. There we go. So what we'll say for our ball, if our y position is less than, there we go. If our y position is less than minus 168, sorry, not 168. If our y position of the ball is less than 168, minus 668, then what we will do is we'll lose a life. Let's take a life off, change player lives by -1, and let's move it back to there. So let's get it back to where it wants to be, go back to the go, and let's point it back in the direction going up that way, which is 45 degrees. There we go. So if his y position is less than -68, it'll move him back. Let's have a look. Let's see if that works. And he should lose a life as well. Bing. There you go. Back down to 4, down to 3, down to 2, down to 1. Great. Okay, good. And what we can do here as well is we can do all that. And then finally we can say, if his lives are less than 0, if I actually won't do this on here, let's do that with the stage, because we could do another one here. If our lives are less than 0, so let's have a look, or if our lives are 0, there we go, do 0. If our lives left are 0, player lives are 0. If the player lives are 0, then let's switch the backdrop. Let's do exactly the same here. We'll broadcast the end of the game. And let's just create another backdrop, and let's call this Game Over. Game Over backdrop. There we go. And let's put you lose. There we go. Perfect. Good. You lose. Excellent. If the player lives 0, broadcast end of the game and change that backdrop. Switch the backdrop to game over backdrop. There we go. So let's see if that works. Nope. Bouncing around. There we go. So we know we've lost. Excellent. And just to make sure as well, let's see if we can run the game from start to finish. Let's just hide the player lives. There we go. Let's see if we can get all the way from start to finish without losing any lives. This will be fun. Are we out losing? There we go. Bounce, bounce. Oop, bounce. Bounce. See if we could finish this game. Bounce. Let's have a look. So whilst I'm finishing off this game, we can start to sort of think of the kind of improvements that we want to make to the game to make it better. A nice easy set of improvements would be, at the moment it just moves a fixed amount each second. I think it's 5 it says. You could swap that value for a speed variable, and you could say for instance that you could start counting at the start of the game, and every 30 seconds it could get faster. That would be good. You could do that. You could have a thing that does multiple levels or multiple difficulty levels, so that instead of having 2 lives for each block at the start of the game, each block could have 3 lives or 4 lives or 1 life. You could do it so that if you hit certain blocks, then you get power-ups, or if you hit other blocks, then it goes really fast or really slow. So there's plenty of possibilities there. Plenty of possibilities. Let's see if that goes. Let's see if we can beat this game. You could also do it as well. I've seen it in some version of this where if you hit it the first time, it changes colour. So if lives is 1 life, then it changes its colour to a different costume. That's another possibility. It's definitely a possibility. That's a good way of doing the game. What we got left here? We're not doing too bad now. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 left to go. Here we go. There we go. 10 left. Hopefully I won't lose my lives by the time we finish. 9 left. 8 left. 7. Let's have a look. 6. 5. There we go. No. So that's 6 left to do. Come on. There we go. 5 left. I think definitely a speed increase would be useful on this. Otherwise, going to be here all day. 4 left. Here we go. 3 left. 2 left. 1 left. Is this going to get it this time? Looks like it will. There we go. Perfect. So it works. Brilliant. There you go. All the scripts for the game will be on the website as usual. And good luck. Have a go at doing some of those extension activities.